Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Hook Turn podcast with my fantastic friend Sanviv. How are you tonight, Sanviv?
I'm very good. Today we've got a variety of interesting cars, all of them attainable more or less.
Yeah,
Certainly two of them are literally designed to be attainable cars, and one, two, and two and a half of them are electric. So back to
two
we've
and a
been
half.
talking, yeah. So we've been talking for the past couple of weeks. I think last week we spoke a bit about at least cars that weren't necessarily fully
Mm,
just electric, but back to, I mean, to be fair, now most new cars that are coming out are always going to be often fully electric, so it's inevitable.
yeah, it is. And in this episode, we do talk about two Chinese cars. We had a bit of a streak, I think, over the last couple of weeks where we weren't talking about any Chinese cars. But we are back because there's just so much innovation and change happening in the in this space with Chinese manufacturers always updating and improving their models. So it would be very remiss of us to not touch on.
I just had a look. We last spoke about a Chinese car a month ago, the MG S6.
Well, there you go.
Uh,
So we
yeah.
had like a 3 or 4 episode streak, I think. Now we're sort of back to our usual cadence because there's so much innovation and updates happening in the space with new Chinese manufacturers coming into the Australian market and releasing updated models as well. So let's get started. Now the first car that we want to talk about this week is uh, a model called the Leapmotor B05 hatch. So Leapmotor, not all of our listeners might be aware of the brand, but Leapmotor is a Chinese brand, but it has a bit of a European partnership because, Sandeep, do you want to elaborate a little bit further? But it's part of the Stellantis umbrella. So it's essentially like, I believe, what is it, a joint venture with Stellantis? Is
Yeah,
that correct?
that's correct. And really, the main uh, end thing, importance for consumers is that basically Stellantis engineers help engineer Leapmotor
Yes.
cars. So basically, you're getting European engineering, even though it's a Chinese car.
That's right. So this hatchet, it's called the B05. It's supposed to compete directly with models like it's like a Volkswagen Golf sized hatch. So it's like a in the competing in the what the Europeans call the C segment. So Volkswagen Golf, Toyota Corolla, um, and then there's a range of other more direct competitors in the Australian market. So I would say the MG4 is probably the most direct competitor, but um, yeah, it's Chinese made, but Leapmotor are claiming that it's been tuned in Europe at the was it the Alfa Romeo or the Fiat test track. So it's had some European suspension input. It's not like your typical Chinese car that's super soft and wallowy through the corners and has no sort of steering feel or nor handling finesse. So I might just touch on the specifications. So in terms of the motor, it's 160 kilowatts of power, 240 Newton meters of torque. So that's actually fairly powerful for this segment. 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 6.7 seconds. So pretty quick actually as well. In Australia, it's coming in two battery capacities. So you have the entry level style, which is 56.2 kilowatt hour battery with 401 kilometers of range on the WLTP cycle. So I think the realistic range is probably going to be around maybe 340, 350 kilometers. And then you have the larger battery, which is the design long range, which is going to be 67.1 kilowatt hour battery and a 482 kilometer WLTP range. So that's actually for the class. I think that's a pretty good range. I think the realistic range there is easily go comfortably do sort of 400 kilometers. Now just the pricing also is very competitive. So the base model starts at 35,990 drive away, and I believe the the what is it, the design long range is 30, is it 38,990, I think?
38
Yeah,
or 39 990 drive away, correct?
38,990,
Yeah.
which is, oh yeah, for under 40 grand, you're getting a lot of
39 990 drive away for the top spec.
39,990. Yeah, so you're getting a lot of metal for the money. Sandra, did you want to talk about the what your thoughts are on how competitive this is? Maybe we'll touch on the design and features of styling a little bit later, but I just want to talk about, do you reckon this has what it takes, this has what it takes to compete with the MG4, which I think is probably the most direct competitor?
If you read the international reviews, it's actually reviewing quite well in terms of the way it drives. I'm just reading a
Mm,
European review now, and they're actually saying, apart from the driver assistance tech, which is a lot of Chinese cars,
mm,
that still needs to be fine-tuned. Apparently, the driving is actually quite good. It apparently
mm,
rides really well, even with on poorly sort of surface roads. Apparently, it's very smooth and quiet in the cabin, and and that basically shows, like, it might not necessarily be the case for the domestic Chinese tuning, but it shows that obviously for their export market variants, they are actually paying attention to the fact that, hey, people, especially in Western markets, do care about the way that the car drives. So, about if you look at the reviews, it's apparently quite drives smoothly. You mentioned 6.7 seconds is quite like more than fast enough for
yeah.
like any kind of regular driving. Um, Supposedly, it doesn't drive as sharply as the MG4, but
Mm,
again, and you can even tell from the photos, the cabin itself looks a lot more premium than MG4. So I would
yeah.
probably say this is going to be a better in terms of just sitting behind the wheel. Externally, I think it's great. I think it's got a very clean design. It's not
Yeah.
like something that will stand out on the road, but
Mm,
it's got an extremely clean design, and in no way like can it be said that it's anything less than quite a good looking car, especially for the price. Interior wise, again, you've got two screens, but like they've learned from a lot of the competition that air conditioning controls are always permanently at the bottom of the touchscreen, so they're always um, easily accessible. So and interestingly enough, it's got an inbuilt dash cam basically. So
mm,
basically like a Sentry mode, but a lot of
yeah.
the Chinese EVs don't offer that. So this car has
It has a
got that.
camp mode as well, which is interesting
Yeah, yeah,
given
yeah.
the size of the car.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's got a cat mode as well. Yeah. So it basically shows that they've thought a lot about it. It's apparently the way that the UI has been designed is as reasonably good. Apparently the material quality for the price is actually quite good for the
Mm,
like relatively premium. Again, and like I said, it's like even from the photos, it looks like a nice looking interior, really. Like I don't think you can there's very much to criticize. The range of the top spec is also excellent. 482 kilometers
yeah,
is more
really
than
good.
enough for yeah, for people's like regular people. Like it basically means you need to charge once a week, right? For the
Mm,
sort of people like who just do regular driving, you need to charge once a week. And yeah, no, 800 volt, but really at this price, it doesn't matter. It still accepts 150 kilowatts up to, and in Australia as well. I think we've got like 400 volt chargers in all of New South Wales. Not sure about the other states. So realistically, it's not like any chargers almost in Australia even support 400. Like pretty much all of them are for 150 anyway.
mm,
Um, yeah, so I would say I can see why they are excited about this product. Now it's just because like Leapmotor, they don't like very few people have basically heard of them. Like, I mean, it's very difficult for the mainstream consumer, given how many Chinese brands exist in the market right now. It's very hard for
mm.
anyone to even tell who is a like which brand is coming, which brand isn't. Interestingly enough, also reading Car Experts winners and losers, apparently Leapmotor had the greatest percentage increase of every brand with a 152% increase from last year, but last year they had a very low base. So
Yeah. From
it's
a small base, but yes, yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It sold about 780 cars this year, but there obviously we'll see how much the B05 boosts sales. But like even with 780 cars for a brand that basically no one had heard of, um, you're even a year ago almost, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah. I think I do agree that it looks, I mean, this is something that you have to compare directly by sitting in both cars because the MG4 was also, updated fairly recently, just in April, with a new interior and so on. But I do feel like this car overall is a much more sophisticated package, and especially compared to the direct rear-wheel drive MG4, it looks like it's significantly better value as well because I believe the MG4 Urban, yes, is cheaper, but that's also front wheel drive. It's a less sophisticated car, less range as well. The standard MG4, um, the entry level, I think, starts at just under 40 grand, and then the X Power is like towards almost $50,000. So this is, and neither of those models have the same range as the top of the range Leapmotor. So it does look like a more sophisticated package. They're both, I mean, I think both the MG4 and the Leapmotor are very loaded with features. I think the main thing with the driving is that the Leapmotor also has the full one pedal drive, and I don't think that the MG4 has that option. So if you want the, like a Tesla style option where you can release the accelerator and the car will come to a complete stop, then maybe this Leapmotor is the one for you. I guess the two things I can see that are in the MG's favor are probably firstly the MG has more physical controls with this latest update. Like it has the physical air conditioning controls and everything, which I think is a good touch from MG. And the other thing to know is that MG has just a much bigger dealership and after sales presence. Like it's a much more established brand in the Australian market. I think you get a better warranty, like MG has 10-year warranty, more easier to find a dealership that you can service the car with, etc., etc. So, and it's more recognized in this market as well. So, yeah, I think the Leapmotor overall might be a better car, and I like it has a more sort of European design as well. It's more like smooth. Looks like a classier design. Yeah, MG is like you look at it in person and it looks a little bit odd from some angles. And I mean, I haven't seen the Leapmotor in person either, but it just looks to be slightly better proportioned. The technology seems to be a little bit more resolved with the larger touchscreen, more sophisticated technology features, and then the overall pricing seems to be quite a fair bit sharper than anything MG is offering with the MG4 as well. So yeah, I think it's definitely a very strong competitor. I would even say, I think what's the equivalent BYD some the Dolphin, or is that a little bit cheaper than the
I think
MG4?
the Dolphin's a bit more expensive,
More
actually.
expensive. Okay. Yeah. Is
Yeah,
it Dolphin also a hatch, or is that
yeah,
a
Dolphin's a hatch. Yeah, Dolphin's
yeah,
a
I
hatch.
mean,
Yeah.
I would think, in my opinion, and maybe some of you can correct me, you might have different view, but I would place this as a car. I would place this Leapmotor and the MG probably ahead of the BYD Dolphin. But what do you think?
So just quickly looking at the thing, BYD Dolphin starts a lot cheaper than I even remember. It starts at 29,990,
Oh
and
wow,
the
okay,
top, yeah, yeah, and the top spec is 36,990.
yeah,
So interestingly, so basically you can get a top spec BYD Dolphin
mm,
for roughly the same price as the entry level Leapmotor.
yeah,
But you are right. I would definitely say that the BYD Dolphin is much older in every way.
yeah,
Yeah, so the interior looks a lot older. The
yeah,
technology, I suspect, I mean, it's probably not that much older, but
yeah,
probably not as refined. It's nowhere near as refined as the Leap Motor. So yes, I would definitely get a Leap Motor over the BYD.
yeah, yeah. So as long as you can sort of deal with a slightly unknown brand, I mean, the good thing is that they have a partnership with Stellantis. So Stellantis, I believe, has a 20% stake in Leapmotor. So that says a little bit, perhaps, about like the confidence that like a foreign, like European company has in this sort of fledgling brand. And maybe it's a little bit of indication that it might be here to stay for the long term. But I mean, that is TBC and it is a risk that you're taking if you go with the Leap motor. But I think as a car, it's definitely a very attractive package. It looks like a very attractive package on the surface. So yeah, I'm keen to see more. I have seen a little bit of marketing from Leapmotor with some of their SUVs, but I think this is probably their overall the best model yet in the Australian market. Okay, Sandra, did you have anything else to say, or should we move on to our next topic?
I think let's move on.
Yeah, all right, cool. Now, our next topic is a much more familiar name. So, Lexus. So, Lexus has introduced a new ES. So, they've revealed this last year, but we finally have the Australian pricing and specifications. So, the ES, just for context, is essentially like Lexus's version of a Toyota Camry. So, it's a sedan, mid-size, although this one is essentially a large sedan because it's grown in size. Quite luxuriously appointed, sort of designed to compete with everything from like the BMW 3 Series, Mercedes C-Class, all the way up to the entry level models of the E-Class, BMW 5 Series, and so on. What's interesting with this particular new generation is that it's not just a hybrid, but it's also offered in as a full battery electric vehicle. So it has a wide span of competition. It's like it's also competing with models like the Tesla Model 3 to a degree, other EV sedans like the Hyundai Ioniq 6. Yeah, the MG, what is it, the IM5 if you're looking at more broadly, and it potentially even like the BMW i3 sedan when that comes to Australia as well. So has a broad sort of base of competitors. And I think, Sanvid, would you say the pricing is surprisingly good? So I might just touch on the pricing and then we can comment on what we think about it. So we have the entry level hybrid that is uh, around $75,000 before on-road costs. Then we have so that's the ES 350h luxury. We then have the ES 350e luxury, which is around $77,000. Um, and then we have the ES 500e Sports Luxury, which is $84,000. And then we also have the ES 300h Luxury, which you can get with an enhancement pack for $82,000. So just to sum up, there's four sort of specification levels. There's the 300h Luxury, 300h Luxury with enhancement pack. Then you have the 350e Sports Luxury, and then the 500e Sports Luxury. So you have two hybrid specifications at $75,000 and $82,000, and then the two full BEV or battery electric vehicle specifications at $77,000 and $84,000. So yeah, it's interesting lineup. Sammy, what are your thoughts on the pricing, given it's like a Lexus, full luxury brand, I suppose.
I mean, it's okay. I would suggest that I guess they probably couldn't have priced it much cheaper,
Yeah.
given that then it would be too much different from a Toyota Camry almost, like in terms of pricing, I mean. So so to that extent, I kind of get it. Um, yeah, that's right. Because I just quickly am checking the Toyota Camry pricing. The top spec Toyota Camry $60,000.
Mm.
So you're yeah, they probably couldn't do much cheaper without almost like then you'd be cross-shopping almost the Camry with the Lexus here. So I kind of get that. I will say that I'm impressed at how, relatively speaking, how cheap the base electric version is, which
Yeah.
yeah, so it's only a bit more than the
Hybrid.
regular hybrid version.
Yeah.
So it kind of shows that to some extent, Lexus do want to push that electric version with that $2,000 price difference.
Mm.
And that, I guess, is a good thing. I'll be curious to see what the breakdown is, but with 510 kilometers of range for that base electric version, that's again more than enough for like, I mean, at this point, how many private buyers does something like the Lexus ES have? I have a feeling that most of this will be simply those premium taxi services.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine the market for a Lexus sedan electric in the private sector, in the private market, sorry, then will be that high. So to that extent, if you're someone's a taxi driver and then looking for a more premium taxi, then I guess it works to that extent.
Mm.
Um, I guess it's otherwise the interior, yes, it's been massively updated. It looks a lot more modern. I'm sure that the material and everything that Lexus is known for will be absolutely amazing. The design's an interesting one. I actually think in some ways exterior design is actually as not quite as adventurous as what BMW is doing, but in some ways more adventurous than even what you can say Audi and Mercedes are doing in terms of its exterior. I would say it's got a more distinctive exterior
Mm.
than the Audi and Mercedes equivalents. So typically, Lexus has always been known for being conservative, but I would actually say on the road, the new Lexus CS would actually stand out. It's got a quite a distinctive design, and I think looks pretty good. And I think certainly, I don't know in terms of aging well, but it looks quite good now. I would suggest that yeah, full length light rear light bar. It's a common design trope of many modern day cars now, and I'm sure will look quite good. Um, Otherwise, there isn't that much more to say in terms of like until we get the reviews and stuff, there isn't as much more to say. But like I said, it is interesting that Lexus is basically being like, okay, we'll give you a hybrid, we'll give you a electric as well, and yeah, and they're basically trying to be like uh, give people basically options to that extent, and even within the electric and hybrids, they're offering two separate trim levels, so they're four altogether, but two hybrid trim levels and two electric trim levels, effectively. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I just like touching on the design. Yeah, this is a car that you got to see in person on the road because from the photos, like I know some of you mentioned it looks good. I don't know. I think it looks just the proportions look a little bit off. Like it seems like you need big wheels for this car to look good. Like I'm looking at the photos of the entry level 300h on the Car Expert article, and it's just like it looks a bit underwheeled. Like the car sits a little bit too high. And I'm not sure about that black, like that contrasting swage line down the side profile. Like that's just a bit, looks a little bit too unnecessary. Like maybe I think they did it to maybe make it like, it looks a little bit more distinctive and so on. But it's a bit, yeah, a bit weird. Interior, they've gone for the giant touchscreen approach, unfortunately. I know it definitely looks more modern than the predecessor, but the predecessor had a very distinctive design with the design of the air vents and having like a more like physical controls and so on and a more of like a unique interior. This is sort of they've gone for let's put a giant iPad on the dashboard and touch sensitive haptic controls on the steering wheel and sort of call it a day, which is yeah, a little bit disappointing, but it is what it is. And they've replaced the Lexus logo with the Lexus word lettering, which is another trend that a lot of car manufacturers are following. Um, yeah, I actually think the pricing is like given Lexus is known for the quality and everything. I actually think the pricing is pretty decent. Like your I think this is going to be a price significantly lower than the i3. But although I know that the i3 is probably going to have significantly more range and so on. Like the i3 has almost 900 kilometers of range. This is, the top spec has 510 kilometers, so almost, significantly more range in the i3. But for what it is, I think it's actually priced fairly well. And it has all of the, luxury and technology features you'd expect with Lexus. And the good thing is that not many of them are locked away in options. So much of it is included, even on the base 300h, and then when you upgrade to the enhancement pack and the electric models, you get the incredible Mark Levinson audio system and all of the other um, luxury features and so on. So and even the when you look at the 500e, which is uh, which is $84,000. You're getting a very like, 252 kilowatts of power, all-wheel drive. It's very quick, 5.5 seconds as well. The range, of course, is okay, 465 kilometers, but it does have a very good AC charging speed, 22 kilowatts of AC charging, which is quite quick. So yeah, I think it's surprisingly well priced from Lexus. And I don't know how many private sales they'll have, but I feel at least I think Sam, to your point, definitely the hybrid models will be probably very popular with the, silver taxis and the luxury taxis and Uber cars. I think, yeah. Sam, did you have any other comments on this?
No, as I said, and the other thing is, I guess it's good to see that they're not like these luxury brands aren't going just okay. Everyone wants an SUV, so let's not
Yeah,
pay attention to our sedans. So Lexus, obviously, the IS used to be one of the biggest sellers for Lexus. They unfortunately dropped it
yeah,
due to not meeting the
safe.
safety,
Yeah,
yeah, regulations. Correct,
yeah,
yeah. But and this is where again, I think if Lexus still offered the IS, that
mm.
would have had a reasonable private market base. But yeah, the ES really, I think, is just associated with taxis and I guess people who are really old who still somehow want a
Uh,
brand new car,
Cruiser,
right?
they want a luxury cruiser. They don't care. They don't want the most sporty feeling car. They just want something smooth and comfortable.
Actually, this reminds me a couple of weeks ago when I went on a short road trip in my car, and at a charging station, there was this couple would have at least been in their 70s.
Yeah.
They were driving an absolutely brand new BMW i5.
Wow.
Yeah, the i5, yeah. And they couldn't figure out how to stop the charging. So they managed to connect it, but they couldn't figure out how to stop it. And I tried to help them when I
Yeah.
was charging my car next to them. And like, even I was like getting confused because you know, on how, like,
Wow.
yeah, and how, like, and it was BMW, so much more complicated than even my BYD.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, but I was like, also thinking to myself, wow, this couple is so old. They've got like driving around in this car that is like absolutely cutting edge tech. So clearly there's a market that I'm not aware of.
Oh yeah. Okay. So, and did you end up figuring it out and helping them, or did you just
Yeah,
leave?
yeah, yeah. In the end, it was fine, but I just find
Yeah.
it funny that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my parents drive a Tesla, and that's very, that can be a bit complicated as well. Although I think my dad has figured out how to use his Model Y, at least some of the features on that giant touchscreen. So, yeah, it's interesting. I think like you can sort of get familiar with it over time, I suppose. Yeah, but I think overall, yeah, it's a good car. I do feel the interior has lost some of the Lexus distinctiveness. Like I remember when, they had the remote touch system with the mouse cursor, and it wasn't very well received, but it's still, they're trying to innovate a little bit more, and they had the touchpad system, and they had a lot of they're playing around a lot with different materials, and like Japanese influences in the interior design and so on. And now they've sort of I don't know, they've sort of taken that they've reduced the focus on that sort of craftsmanship, I feel, with this model, and unfortunately, like I'm sure the quality is still there, like the soft touch materials and so on, but they've just sort of gone with the let's put a big touch screen on the dashboard and sort of call it a day, which is I have to say that's a little bit disappointing. So yeah, at least they have more interior colors than just black, so that's one positive. Okay, look, let's move on to our final topic. And this is actually something that's this brand has had, I think in the Australian market, it's had ups and downs. I think that's fair to say. But the model that we're talking about is the Xpeng G6. So um, Xpeng is maybe it's Sandra, would you say it's a little bit more of the maybe a little bit more of a minnow Chinese brand? It's been around. I feel like it's actually been around in the Australian market for a while. Like didn't the when did the first Xpeng launch? Like 2022, 2023 or
I
something?
think it was 24, 24.
24 maybe. Okay,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
24. All right. So it's been around for like 2 years, but it hasn't had the same success that, BYD has had or any of like the other its sort of fellow Chinese brands, like even like, Geely or anything. And one of the reasons is that its distributor model has been a very like odd odd thing. So they went with this third party called True EV. They didn't really have many locations in the country where you could actually look at these cars and sort of take them for a test drive and get them serviced and so on. I think we may have touched on this in an earlier episode, but basically, True EV, the factory has decided to take over the distribution of these cars in Australia, and that has caused True EV to be locked in a court battle with Xpeng proper for the losing the rights to distribute the G6 and so on. So there's some legal issues, and I think ultimately the victim is the customer because yeah, it's just a very unclear like who's doing what in terms of where do you go to service your car? Where do you actually buy new models from? It's not very consumer friendly, and there's been a lot of issues around Xpeng offering rebates, and then there's rebates not actually being paid to customers or having customers having difficulty with claiming those rebates. So they've had quite a few issues with the after sales experience, and that has sort of really hampered the sales. But we might talk a little bit more about the car. And I think the car, this refreshed Xpeng, it's actually quite competitive. So, Sam, do you want to touch on the pricing and specifications perhaps a little bit?
I would already say it was actually well known that even the now, I guess, previous gen or pre-facelift G6 was actually, aside from all the issues with the distributor and stuff, is
Yeah.
actually one of the best EVs you can get. And this car looks like it's going to improve on it even more. Obviously, first, the fact that it started with the 800-volt architecture
Mm.
at a reasonable price. This car continues it. Supposedly, the first gen, and I assume this car, it was quite tech forward.
Yeah.
Um, even compared to other Chinese EVs. And so again, I would suggest that this car would be. I actually even though they're calling it a minor tweak, I think the rear now looks a lot more defined. I think the rear of the pre-facelift looked a bit bulbous. This one
Yeah.
actually looks like, even though it's like almost the same, it's just changed enough that it looks
Yeah.
like significantly nicer now.
A little bit more of a spoiler. I think they have a more defined rear spoiler. And then the tailgate, they've introduced like a little bit of a lip spoiler as well. So it doesn't just look like a generic egg-shaped car with a light bar across the rear. Has a little bit more character. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I would suggest that your the car, even the entry range now has a decent sort of thing, range of 480 kilometers, which
Mm.
is quite good on the 18-inch wheels, which I imagine most people will take. And that's like, again, that 480 range is more than enough for most people. The other really interesting thing is that um, one of the higher spec ones has the
Yeah, the long
fastest
range.
now charging capacity of any car. It's now just beaten the Zeekr 7X and can charge at 451 kilowatts. Now, the reality is, as I mentioned, there's like only in the single digits an amount of public chargers that support
Mm.
that charging speed. So it's more something that 99% people won't use. But even then, the fact that it has it is quite impressive. Um, so yeah, and obviously the all-wheel drive performance, basically pretty good and obviously extremely fast, nearly basically 4 seconds, 4.13 seconds, which is incredibly quick.
Mm.
So we're talking like a car that if you're willing to spend 63,800, you're getting 800-volt architecture, you're getting incredibly quick car, you're getting actually a relatively competitive range because even something like the C-Line 7 Performance, its range drops to 450 for the performance variant, whereas for this one, even for the performance variant, its range is still um, at 510. So you're getting like crazy performance for still, but still not compromising too much on range.
Mm.
So again, I would suggest that assuming that this factory now the Xpeng factory sort of distribution works that well. This and obviously waiting for the reviews, this could be one of the better, like one of the most competitive cars to get within this $50,000 to $60,000 mid-size SUV segment.
Yeah. And Sam, just out of curiosity, did you look at the Xpeng at all when you were, buying your BYD, or were you like, oh, no, it's a bit too niche?
Yeah, correct. I would suggest that now with this refresh, I would have seriously consider it. Like I said, I didn't actually like the design of the well, not
Yeah,
didn't like, but I didn't it looked a bit odd. Whereas this one,
yeah,
like I said, just a small tweak to the rear makes it look so much nicer.
yeah,
So I would definitely have considered this one. As I said, reading the reviews, its technology is actually quite good. And this one, obviously, the refresh has made it even better. So yeah, absolutely, and the price is also extremely competitive as well.
yeah.
Even the mid-spec one is a bit more. The G6 rear-wheel drive long range is a bit more than say the base C Line 7 and stuff. But for that, you are getting you're getting you're getting 525 kilometers of range, which is quite good. So yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh, I'm definitely keen to see like a three-way comparison between, I think this Xpeng, the BYD C Line 7, which is the car that you have, and the MG S6, because they're all sort of like vaguely similarly priced. All sort of Chinese, and at the and they're all in a very highly competitive segment, and maybe have the Tesla Model Y as like a just a benchmark, and a four-way comparison between these four models. I think that would be very fascinating to see, and maybe even you throw in the Mazda CX-60, which is essentially which we've touched on before, is essentially like a Chinese car with some Mazda's refining touches. But yeah, I think it's a very competitive market. The biggest issue with Xpeng is not the car, but it's the company, and I think that's the main stumbling factor. Is like, where can you actually buy this car from? There's not that many. I think I was reading that it's not even the refresh model is not even available to buy anywhere in New South Wales, because they haven't set up the factory hasn't set up their distributor yet in New South Wales. If you want to buy the updated model right now, you have to go to like Queensland or somewhere. So that's a bit odd. So yeah, the issue with Xpeng is not the car, it's the actual selling and the buying process. Which yeah, I mean, obviously is a big factor. Like, if you can't look at the car, if you can't buy the car then in person, then that's not good. Okay, look, I think Sammy, did you have anything else to touch on, or should we end the episode here?
It's funny, when you Google Xpeng in like put it into Google,
Yeah,
the first website that comes up is still the True EV website.
there you go.
So in reality, and to get to because it's the factory backed operation, you
Yeah.
have to scroll all the way down to get that website. Because I was basically reading the comments, I was like, they were like, oh, you can already spec the car on Xpeng's website. I was like, wait, Xpeng's website? Then I
Yeah.
read because the True EV you can't spec the new G6. And then I scroll down to xpeng .com/au rather than .au. And then yes, you can spec the car on the official Xpeng website, not the one run by True EV. So yeah, and I will also say the purple color for the new refreshed Xpeng is quite impressive. It's an additional $1,500, but yeah, like even if you spec out the base Xpeng to give it a really nice the white interior rather than the basic black, plus a special color
Mm.
for the base version, it still comes to after on-roads 55,800, which is an incredibly competitive price because cars like the BYD C Line 7 before after on-roads are about $60,000. So you're actually whereas here even after on-roads it's 55,800, so 56, and that's again specking the light gray interior plus a custom color as well.
Yeah. I'm just having a look at it. I can't actually find the website where you can spec
Yeah.
the G6. So like they can see, I can see the features and the colors, but I
No, no,
can't.
no. That's the true EV website. You have to on Google. You have to basically scroll down to the Xpeng. Uh,
.com.au or is it
so
the
it's not .com.au. It's Xpeng. Um,
.com?
it's it's xpeng.com/au. Yeah. So if you go to .au, it goes to the true EV website. If you go
Oh
to
my
slash
God.
.au, then it goes to the Xpeng website,
Okay,
and then you can.
xpeng.com slash.
Yeah,
Let's check. Now I'm just curious. Now I'm curious.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, well, look, there you go. This kind of says all you need to know about what is happening with
Yeah, exactly. So, and yeah, so exactly. And you are right. There's no dealers in Sydney. So Melbourne, Brisbane surprisingly has lots. Even
Yeah,
Darwin has one. Perth has one. Funnily enough, Sydney and Adelaide are the two capital cities which still, like, as in factory-backed operations, still don't have one.
yeah,
I don't know, and ACT and Canberra also doesn't have one.
yeah.
So somehow they managed to get one in Darwin, and apparently still there's still no option in Sydney or Adelaide,
Yeah.
or Canberra for that matter.
Yeah, and just for context, like New South Wales is the biggest market in terms of sales, so that's pretty. Yeah, like if anything, you'd prioritize Sydney and Melbourne and New South Wales and Victoria. So that's very, yeah, that's really odd. Anyway, let's hope that Sydney gets an Xpeng dealership uh, or some sort of pop-up store or something sooner.
Yeah, like I said,
And
and also sorry,
maybe I'll see one in Melbourne and I'll report back to you, Sam, on whether I like it or not.
I was going to say also nearly all the Xpeng, even though they're available, it says coming soon. So
Yeah,
even the dealers that their thing are still every single one, as far as I can tell, says coming soon.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
yeah. As I said, you're they're very much a still yeah in very early
Early
stages.
operation. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so yeah, the Xpeng is kind of like the victim of its own sales operation at this point. They just, I mean, honestly, if I was looking at a car, like as a car, it looks very good, but if I was looking at this entire like kerfuffle, I'd honestly be a bit worried and probably not buy it until these issues are all sorted out. Like it's
yeah.
just, yeah, unfortunately, yeah. Okay, look, I think we might end this week's episode here. So, once again, thank you so much for listening to us. Please remember to like and subscribe. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon, all of the Overcast, all of the big podcasting platforms. And we'll talk to you next week. Bye.